Hello and welcome to my Undecember tips and tricks videos for early to mid game. Go ahead and start out with some of the useful menu options in Journal. Something that can save a lot of time instead of just clicking this receive reward button because you can't skip this pop-up. If you were to just hit the receive all, it gives you a different kind of pop-up that you can skip. That'll save a lot of time when clicking and going between multiple tabs. Another very useful thing in this journal, once you unlock it, don't remember exactly when. I think it's Act 2 or level 12, something like that. You unlock the Compendium, which not only acts as a storage device for uniques, you can put one of any unique in here. It also acts as a storage device for one of each rune, skill runes and link runes. Also, from here, when looking, you can look and see what every rune does. Not only that, if you click on them, you can see what upgrading each rune does. These blue squares tell you what the upgrade will be. Yellow is for rare, all the way up to legendary to tell you what kind of effect you'll get, which is very good for whenever you're trying to decide, say, what support or skill you want to upgrade. Because a very easy example, if you were to upgrade Burning Arrow just to blue, look how many buffs you get as composed to something like, was it this one? Let's see, you get less, maybe not as beneficial. And there's some things that give you basically just a small stat increase. And each compendium collection has this bar based on how many things you've put in here. Each one gives you a score point. If they were a higher level, they'd give more points. If they were blue, they give more points, so on and so on. And once you meet certain breakpoints on the last tab, you'll get these effects that increase drop rates, of all kinds of things. The loot goblin encounters, the Peru, different drop rates for skill runes, link runes, gold, item rarity, all kinds of good bonuses. And then later on, once you start doing better stuff, they'll give you stat increases for your character. That's more of a late game kind of thing. Compendium is super helpful for that regards. See the next menu that's really helpful. In the settings menu, not only can you change all the stuff that appears above your characters or party members, the notification menu, like if you have a pet, it constantly reminds you that your pet cooldown is off. Is the pet abilities off cooldown? You can turn that off. You can turn off all the whatever bothers you. Accessibility is a very important tab. This is for loot filtering. You can turn off normal gear, magic gear. You can tell what level or above that you want to auto pick up, what quality or above. Very useful to look and read all of these. It also help with your storage if you don't buy any of the storage spaces or unique tabs. You also have your graphics, same as every other game. Next, we'll go over the Zodiac. This is where it's like your talent tree. It's pretty straightforward. It tells you what you need to unlock. So you start off on 1, and then you move to 2, and then 3, so on and so on. Each next unlock requires more points or a certain amount of points. In the middle, you have your 3 main stats. This is what they increase. And on the bottom left, you have the reset option. As long as you have not killed or beaten the last boss of Act 10, this is free. You can do it as many times as you want, as much as you want, as long as you haven't beaten the last boss of Act 10 on any character. It'll be free. Another thing that's important to note is these green trees. See how there's 4 connected? You start at the bottom of each one, but you can only pick one. So I pick this one, put my stats in it. I can no longer do any of these other specializations. I can only continue this one. Then we have our skills menu. This is where all your skills will go. You socket them in, and based on how many colored sides they have, that determines what you can link to which side of your skill. On the skills themselves, they all have tags for being a spell, strike, blah, whatever. That'll tell you what kind of supports you can put on it. Since it's a lightning, I can put lightning supports. Projectile, I can put projectile supports or links. Cool thing to note about physical spells, see how it's pure physical? You can convert any physical ability to an elemental ability with the convert damage runes that you get from Act 3. Nice thing about being able to convert damage is that it actually changes the color of your spells. If I was to go and take this off, it'd be red. All physical spells are red. All fire spells are orange, or skills are orange. All cold spells are a light blue. Lightning spells are a kind of purplish blue. And poison is green. The best kind of support I recommend you always have is they call it a an activation on such. So if you were to go to look at, there's one for attack hit, there's one, and there's 2 for on spell hit and on while channeling. There's not going to be another support that's going to give you the same amount of damage as having your main skill trigger another skill. So I always recommend that you have a trigger link triggering another spell. Another good combo is you want either roll or teleport, and leap slam if you can use it. But as you can see, requires dagger, sword, axe, blunt, or staff. You cannot use it with wands or bows. The reason I suggest this is because roll and teleport, they share a cooldown, but leap attack does not. So you can do both. If I was to go, I can roll and leap, and they don't share cooldowns. So suggest getting a setup like this. Disarm lowers the cooldown of the movement skills, and use count increases the amount of max use count you can have on these skills. Another thing to note is you have skills like this that say toggle, means they'll always be on, but they also increase all of your mana cost for everything, all your other skills. As you can see, I have a times 1.15, which now makes this cost 33.12 mana. But if I was to turn off that, it's now gone, and now it only costs 28 mana. So if you're having mana problems, it might be because you have too many toggles turned on. See, if I was to turn on all these toggles, 51 mana can be way too much. Next, in your inventory menu, it'll show you have all these different tabs that you can separate to see your inventory better. Like this can be too much. I usually separate them based on what I want to look at. Then you can also separate them by level, tier, whatnot. This shows you how much inventory space you have. You can add more, but I don't think it's worth it. Over on the left, you have your character stats. It's not always the most accurate, but it's usually decent. Here's where you want to go to look at your resistances. Resistances are really important. They're one of your main sources of survivability. You also have armor if you're building it. Dodge if you're doing dodge. And barrier would be up here. It also has lots of other defenses. On your other tab would be your movement speed and regen. Those are some stats that are good to look at. You can also click to show your maximum to see what the caps are. So like the max move speed you can have is 1500. Maximum resistances are 75, max armor is 80, dodge 90. Next at the bottom, you have the potion tab. This is how you can auto use your potions. And then set up when to use these potions. I recommend having the low cooldown, just regular HP recovery potion, 10-second cooldown, and it's regen. I recommend having one of these and an instant potion. But I set them up differently. So the HP on the regen potion is kind of high, but on the instant potion, I have it set to be lower. So whenever I take like a really big hit, it brings me back up to full HP. Then on your mana potion, you have select a different tab, and then you can change this up and down to where you want it to be. Then you hit apply. You can also set it up to be on a timer if you want your elixir or your enhanced potions to be automated on a timer. Next, your drop tab, very useful for clearing stuff out of your inventory or stuff that you've picked up that you can't be sold or can't be used anywhere other than a specific place that you don't want to deal with. You can just drop them and then they'll be gone. Favorites tab, you can favorite something and it'll never get auto transferred to like this like selling a sell menu or a dismantle menu. It doesn't show up. It's not here anymore. But if I was to go back, there it is. To unfavorite, you go to the same menu, click unfavorite. A lot of these, some of the things I might tell you, like right clicking or such, is because I play on PC. If you play on mobile, I don't know how to do something exactly the same. But that's it for the inventory. Well, also, while the inventory is open, you can look at how much of each type of material or currencies you have. That can be, and I'll show you where you can use or how to get those currencies. Another thing I've seen people ask about is resistances. How to know which one to have. When you click on a zone, you see how it always has this little symbol? That tells you what element, that's the recommended elemental resistance for these areas. Also tells you the monster level, and if you've fully cleared the area. You click the question mark, it tells you what each symbol means. The flags tell you that you've 100%ed the area. When you 100% the area, you get to get a reward, which is worth doing. And as you go to different acts, they tell you the recommended elemental resist changes. So if you're having problems, you want to check to see what the resistance is. And at each new act, you want to go to the store, which is Kuroko, and the gear shop. Each new tab, I recommend you try to upgrade your weapon if you can. Daggers and scepters are really good if you're going one-handed. I don't know about two-handed weapons. I haven't used any yet. But I recommend daggers and scepters if you're using those stats. Daggers have been the easiest for me, and I also like them more because, as you can see, the base stat of speed, it doesn't apply to just it doesn't apply to just attacks. It applies to your attack speed and cast speed. So it's good to have a high base if you don't want to feel slow. Like if you were to use a staff, a lot slower than if you were using the dagger. Another thing that's different in this game is they call it rate, and that just means chance. So this is crit chance. Or if you see if my gear has any, but you'll see like burn rate or poison rate. That's all poison chance, burn chance. Another thing you want to look at, if you're using attacks and spells, it needs to say attacks and spells. If it just says spells, it won't increase any attack stuff, and if it just says attack, it won't increase spell stuff. So if you're doing like a hybrid build. The second tab on the left would be how you look at the armor. And they have one of each type: armor, dodge, barrier. Barrier is a shield that just covers that goes over your life and gets taken before life. The next important tab is enchant. That's how you would take a piece of gear that you bought a new weapon or whatever, and now you want to make it blue or magic so you can get some stats on it or modifiers. The modifiers have different tiers. You see here's a 2 and here's a 3. The higher this number, the better this number will be. The dots on the top and bottom of these tell you what kind of modifier it is. You can have 3 of both, 3 on top, 3 on bottom, and they're called prefixes and suffixes. So once you have a 6-slotted item, There's 1, 2, 3 with the dots on the bottom, 1, 2, 3 with the dots on top. Now, if you haven't selected any crafting material, but you've selected an item, you can look and see all the modifiers that can roll on this item, which is useful if you're trying to look for something specific, like each piece of gear can roll certain modifiers that other gear can't. Like for take for example, lightning damage taken, which would reduce the amount of lightning damage you take by a percentage. If I was to go and look at body armor, it can't do that, but it can do physical damage. That's a useful thing to be able to look at if you're trying to find a specific thing. The legendary prefixes, this is for end game. You won't be able to get that until after you've beaten Act 10. Or if you buy the currency to do that, but it would be a waste. So with crafting, what I recommend early on is you would just use the magic upgrade essence unless you got good stuff, then you might want, these are kind of hard, you don't get a lot of these early on, so I suggest you just keep doing this until you hit 3 and hear that noise. Once you hit 3, you can use the birth essence to re-roll, but keep the amount of options you have. And I would re-roll, on weapons at least, I would re-roll until you got something like this. Flat damage and percent damage together. That's going to be your best stats for leveling. Going to be your best stats for doing damage throughout the campaign. Once you got something like this, you can use an imbue essence to fill in that third slot. And hopefully you get something good. But as long as you get a percent and a flat, it should be good enough to get to the next town. You can also turn it rare or yellow with the rare upgrade essence. And what this does is, I got lucky, but it adds the 4th, it can add from the 4th mod slot up to, like I got, the 6th. So if I was to grab a different one and just make sure it had 3 slots and they were filled in or whatever, if I was to hit rare again, see, it only gave me 1. But it could give you 6, up to 6. 6 is the max. That's just the basics on crafting, and that should get you through to the end of the game. Each new town, you want to restart the process. You want to look at the map, see what kind of resistances you need. You need fire. You check your character stats, and you go to this, and you say, okay, I need fire. The number on the left is what it's referring to on the map. It's recommending that I have 20. So I have way more than 20. So I'd be good. But later on, further down the line, the number gets bigger, changes elements, and so on. Now onto the disassemble tab. You have, this is where you would go sell your material to get crafting material and whatnot. You can set it to only put in magic or normal items in case you want to look at the rare or magic, or you can set it to jump all those too in case you want to look at the rare, or you can do all of them. You disassemble them, and you get all these crafting materials. This table right here, super helpful. It tells you how you can get certain things. Like if you were to dismantle a unique item, this is the chances that you'd get one of these essence material. So if you're looking for a specific type of essence or crafting material of some kind, you can come check here and see what it wants you to put in there. Like, for instance, these, which modify the quality on a piece of gear, which determines its base stats. If you had 100 armor on a base a piece of gear, but then it had 10% quality, the 100 armor would be 110 instead of 100. So these are going to be super useful later in the game. But it will require you to dismantle an item with quality 11 or above, 15 or above, and this will tell you how many you'll get based on doing that. They have all kinds of things. Option is the amount of modifiers it can have. So if it has 6 slots, that's 6 options. 5 options, so on and so on. Tier is talking about this number right here, 15. Or over here, tier 15. Options are these down here. They can all go up to 6. That reminds me of the skills. All your skills also say max slot and then a number. I've never seen it be less than 6, so I don't know if that's a possibility. Don't know why it even mentions that. I guess just to make sure you know that it can be 6. But also on this tab, there's tabs at the top. There's nothing in material. I don't know why there's a tab for it. Maybe it's something they have on the Korean version, but it's not in the global version. But the runes is important. A lot of people ask how to get the upgrade essences for upgrading their skills. This is one way you can do it. If you dismantle a magic link rune, which isn't ideal starting out, it might be something that's okay later on, but the one you want to be looking at is further down. If you have a link rune that's level 16 or above, you'll get the link upgrade essence pieces. So if you just level up a link rune to 16 and dismantle it a few times, you'll have the upgrade piece. All kinds of recipes are in here. So if you're ever trying to get a certain kind of thing, make sure you come look at these tables. And it'll help you determine what you need to farm for or look out for. Each new town, you want to check the peddler too, the general shop for potions. The mana potions are going to be your main source of mana regen. I haven't got a way around them yet. I still use them and buy them. Next person you got is the Mystic, Pauline. This is how you upgrade your skills. It's also where you can buy skills. Each new town has a different list of skills you can buy. And some link runes you can buy of each type. Where you upgrade is the middle tab, Rune Growth, where you can level up skills using the element material. You put it in there. Can't really see. This is a green skill, so you want to put in the matching type to get more XP. You get a bonus. You put in the wrong type, you get less XP. Only at a 80% instead of 100%. You put them in there, and then it costs gold. And once you get high up, it costs a lot of gold. You can also left click, I don't know what it is for phone, to put in maximum so you don't click so much. You can click 36 times, or you could just click maximum. Right click is to make it go instantly. And that's, you level up your skills and your links. But you want to be careful if, say, you have a skill that that's not equipped on your board, and you're in this menu, you could, it's level 22, but I don't have the strength requirement to do that. Strength 178, I don't have 178 strength, but it would let me do this, even though I wouldn't be able to use it, because it's not equipped. This one that is equipped, the next level requirement would be, I don't have enough strength, so it won't let me do it. Make sure your stuff is equipped if you want to avoid that. The last one is for enchanting. This is how you would change the amount of links a skill can have using the birth essence. Number of linked slots. That's the slots on the outside. The second one is for changing the slot's location, so moving the colors you already have to rearrange them differently. I'll go ahead and show you each one. See, it went from 2 to 1, 1 to 2. This one would move them around, and this one would change the colors. Next, you also have the upgrade ones to change them from normal to magic. And then you have the yellow ones to change them from magic to rare. And then from rare to legendary. And you also have them for links. This trigger rune essence is for these trigger links. See how there's a blue arrow coming from the top towards the bottom? That's indicating that this skill will be triggering this spell. With this essence, you can change the direction of these arrows to maybe come from top left to bottom right, or left to right, so on and so forth. I haven't got any yet, and there are ways to get them. I just haven't farmed for it or tried. Next, you have the alchemy table. I think there's one in the first town, but if not, there's definitely one from the second town on. It's how you can craft your potions, and it tells you what you need to craft the potions. Not all the recipes are unlocked at the starting of the game. These are super useful. You put 3 of these in, and it'll give you a random one. But if you look at the item compendium, some of these skills you can't get from the shop. If I was to filter them by shop, these are all the skills you can buy. You can buy all these skills eventually. But some of these you can only get from synthesis. See, I don't have a lot of these because you can only get them from synthesis. This is a normal one. So if you were to do this synthesis of normal skill runes and you did 3, you have a chance to get any synthesis skill as long as it's normal. You could get this one, but not this one because it's magic. You'd have to do the 3 magic ones, 3 magic skills to have a chance of getting these. But as long as it's normal, you can get these skills. There's not a lot under skills, but you're not guaranteed to get one of these 3. You can get any normal skill. So of all the skills, you could get any of these. But that's also one of the only ways to get this. Early on, it should be the only way unless you pay money. But later on in the game, you can get them from other ways. This filter is also useful for seeing if you're trying to, if you were looking at all the skills and you're like, oh, I want fire torrent or whatever, you can see where it says you get it from. Oh, I get it from synthesis. Or if you were looking for Seal of Element Resist, oh, I get it from the guild shop. Talk about guilds in a sec, but you can do the same thing with link runes. A lot of support. There's a lot more than one white synthesis link rune. So this is a good one to do early on if you're trying to get some better supports. You can do it for this. This is more of an in-game stuff. You can convert your essences to higher essences or such and thing. I'd recommend just going through each option and reading them. A lot of times they tell you stuff like this. This is a very good thing you can do, transfer skill rune. If I was to do this, see this is level 13 and has these 3 color slots on the left. I could take this skill, no matter what it is, what rarity it is, or anything, and I could put all of its stats into another skill, any skill I want. And as long as you haven't beaten the last boss of Act 10, this will be free, and all it will take is 10 minutes. It'll just take 10 minutes, it'll be free, and you can convert any skill you want, any level, all of it. It could be a rare level 30 attack skill, and you can convert it to any spell you want, any other skill in the game, and it'll take all of its stats. Level 13, all its XP, all its colors. It could be a 6 slot, it could be anything. And it'd be free until you kill the last boss. Once you kill the last boss, depending on the attributes of this skill, like if it was a 6 slot and it was a higher level, it would cost more material to convert this skill with these stats. If I was to take this 6 slot and try to do this, it will cost a lot more, 230, as opposed to before when it was just 10. It doesn't matter what skill it is, they'll all modify. So it's recommended before you beat Act 10 that you play around with all your skills and make sure you find something that you really want to settle on, because it's free and it's easy to do. You can just go to the shop, buy any skill you want to try, convert it on over for free, give it a test. If you like it, then you can kill the boss and move on when you're ready. The guild shop or the guild menu is not available until you get to Act 2 and you're level 20. Once then, it'll be a different menu to say join or create. You can either create your own guild like I did, or you can join a guild from the list. If you're looking for people to play with, you can scroll through the list of guilds, look how many members they have, if it's free, and they'll tell you what kind of style they want, if they even changed it. But then if you're looking for people to play with and your level, say you just became level 20, you want to click on guild info and members, see how, if they, it seems like they get on a lot. Like if it said like 7 days, then they might not play much. But then you can also see what level they are. And if they're close to level 20, then look at that. They might be where you are in the story, and you could play with them. This means there's no requirements, but you see like here, some of them say level 20 or above, which is, you can't join until you're level 20 anyway, so that's useless. Request to join means you have to request, like mine set up, so they'll request and then the manager or someone has to accept it. Or you have things like join immediately, which as soon as you hit join the guild, it'll just let you in. But the most important thing about guilds is donating. You donate to the guild every day, you get coins, and you can use those coins at the guild base. You go to the guild base, and there's a shop. This is special accessories that you can only get from here. They have like increased gold drop as one of the base stats, stuff like that. The second tab is where you can buy this stuff. These can be used only in synthesis to get those synthesis skills and links that you might be looking for. Very useful because that's all you can just buy them, 1 per day, and once you have 3 of these, it's a lot easier than it would be to spend magic upgrade essence on a skill and then synthesize 3 magic ones. This is all they're used for, is synthesis, so these are a lot better. The chest, any kind of chest you see, if you can click on it and make this pop up that you can interact with, and you see this spyglass, you click on it, you'll see all the results that you can get in these chests. Super helpful whenever you're trying to look for certain things. And these chests themselves, on top of being able to give you any of these colors, you can get all the way up to rare. They can also give you any of the guild specific skills or links. So all these stuff that you can only get from guild, this is how you get them. Item drop rarity is a link that increases item drop rarity. So there's some good stuff in here. And this would be the only way you can get them. Some things you can only buy a certain amount per day. This right here, grade 2, your grade in a guild your grade upgrades after you've donated so many times. I think after 3 times it upgrades. And whenever your grade upgrades, you're able to donate more, which means you're able to get more coins per day. The guild tokens don't drop. They drop later on. I think the earliest I saw them was Act 9 or something like that. And then rubies you get from selling stuff in the auction house. And then, as your guild levels up, some things say guild level. You can't buy these items no matter what grade you are until your guild is a high enough level. And your guild levels up by donating. So donating is super helpful for any guild or anybody who's in a guild. Next, the recruitment board is right here, and you can do the Spire of Barrier, which is like a defense survival kind of thing. There's 20 waves, and if you survive all 20 waves, or how many ever waves you survive, say you only survive 5 waves, you get the rewards for all 5 waves. This is the highest tier, so that your reward will be less than what it's showing me. And on this one, you can go, I think, to 70, yeah. But normally, you can only go to 20. Normally, you would stop at 20. For easy, normal, and hard. You can do it solo, or you can do it with random matchmaking, party of 4. Required level is 20. 20 would be to do the easy one. Normal and hard, you need to be stronger. Second tab is for rating. You can do it, I think it resets every 3 days or something like that. And you can do one of each every one of those 3 days. Tells you what kind of resist you need, and it's a party size of 8. This boss is relatively easy. He puts a fire damage over time debuff on you that doesn't go away. It's infinite. And the only way to make it go away is there are 4 shrines. Everyone always goes and picks up the shrine, so you're probably not going to be able to do it correctly anyways. But the shrine are for clearing the debuff. It doesn't do anything else, and that's all it's used for. So only pick them up whenever you have a significant, like on the right side, there will be a debuff with a number on it. And once the number keeps going up, and you take increased damage every time. So instead of taking 10, you'll take 20. Instead of 20, you'll take 30. If you have a max fire res, the damage it does is less, and you can have more stacks. Once the stacks start getting too much is when you want to use the shrines. Second boss, you're never going to get a party that does the mechanics properly. I found a way to do it where it doesn't really matter if your party knows the mechanics, but it requires you to have freeze immunity from some source. But the mechanics are, the first phase, he's going to freeze a person who is the furthest away from him. So whoever's the farthest person will always be frozen. That frozen person can't do anything. And he shoots a blue ball at that person. If it hits the person, they die. In the first phase, the ball shoots out of him towards the person. Comes out of him towards the person on the ground. So you just need to be in between the frozen person and the boss and block it for them. Doesn't do a lot of damage, it's fine. The second phase, after you've killed these 4 totems or pillars in the corners that he links to, whenever he freezes the furthest person, you need multiple people to stand on top of the frozen person, and that will soak the damage and split it between the amount of people standing there so that no one dies. Depending on how much HP and resist you have, it changes the number. Most of the time, 3 is enough. Sometimes you need more depending on the resistances and HP. 4 to be safe is usually a good bet. And then the last part of his phase is, you see how he has like this, he does this like like kind of a blizzard animation like this, where there's a blizzard going around them. That's a party wipe. The only way to stop it is there's a yellow orb that is following one character. It always follows the character who doesn't know what they're doing, so you'll probably die at that step. But what that person is supposed to do is whenever, right before it starts, because you don't want to wait too long because you'll die, but you can't do it too early because it'll run out. But that yellow orb, the player needs to stop in the yellow orb, that it's the player that it's following needs to stop and stand in it, and then activate a barrier. And everyone stands in the barrier and they won't die from the blizzard. The third boss, I don't know. It's in-game, so I won't go over it. Next, you have the ore shop. She wants these gemstones of courage, which are that's all you're going to be able to get from the beginning. And then she has another tab for the green ones of merit, which are in-game stuff. This is where you can buy things. The only thing I've ever bought from here is this. The best thing to buy from here. But I mean, you could buy whatever you want. But you can get these fairly easy. You get 3,000 a day in the mailbox for the first 30 days of the game being out or whatever. And maybe some other events they do down the future. Or you can get them from doing those map completions eventually. I think it starts maybe Act 3, maybe Act 2, I don't remember. But you'll start getting them for doing these 100% completions. You can see how completed an area is down here, the bottom left. They say something percent until you get 100%. Another thing to note about the link runes, the reason I say I always buy those, is there's a pity system. See how it says 90 out of 3,000? Normally it would be out of 1,500. But once you've used, yeah, the number's going up. Once you use that many, once you use 3,000, the next one will make it a guaranteed 6 link. But obviously, the number changes. So after your first one, it takes 3,000, apparently. I don't know. Maybe it's a 1,500 every time. Maybe it doubles every time. Who knows? Maybe it stops at 3,000. I don't know. There is a repeat setting. And this changes the speed. So you can do repeat. You can select slots. You can do 4, 5, 6, whatever. Hit OK. Okay, or you can choose colors. You want 6 red colors or whatever. Hit OK. And then you can change the speed. Then you hit repeat and it'll do it automatically in case you didn't want to click a bunch of times. Yeah, that's why I always buy these so I can get to the pity system easier. Another thing I forgot is if you are doing a trigger setup, like this, so this skill is triggering this skill. Unless this skill is dark, you see how it's dark? I take this out, it's not dark. Put it back in, it's dark. That means it's connected properly and it's working. It meets all the requirements, such and such. How this says activation, which is this skill, has to be a spell and it has to strike. Some spells don't count as a strike. One of the most popular spells is called Toxic Flame, and it does not count as a strike, so it cannot trigger any of these activations. So this has to be a spell. It has to hit stuff. It has to strike. If you look at this, the spell, and it strikes. So it can trigger a targeted spell. The arrow's pointing at this one. So this needs to be a spell. So it meets the requirements, so it works. The next requirement is on your skill list, these abilities have to be on your skill bar. So see, just pulled it off. But here's the spell I'm triggering. It needs to be in one of these slots somewhere. Usually on the second bar because you can't actively use it. It automatically activates. Later on, you could spend 1,000,000 gold and you could put it in here. But till you feel like you want to do that, you can just put it on the second hotbar. Another thing is eventually, I don't remember when, I don't remember if it's a level or if it's once you get to Act 2. You see my character is not auto-attacking. There's something called Smart Control, where if you click on this ability, now my character is just auto-attacking. And I can move around, and then once I stop moving, it'll do it. Once I stop moving. So I don't need to flick my mouse over here to start attacking and then start running. I just run, let go, run, let go. Easy. But if this skill wasn't on my second hotbar, it would not be triggering. You wouldn't see the balls. You would only see the ninja stars. One of the other super helpful menus will be the guide button. Brings up a guide, has all kinds of information in these tabs. One very useful one is status effects. You scroll down, it'll tell you every type of status effect. Well, maybe not all of them, but the majority of them. It'll tell you what they are, what they do, and what element they are. Each element can do two things. So physical can do bleed and stun. Fire can do burn and wound, so on and so on. You can also go and look at in this menu. On a monster, any monster you fight, when their health bar is at the top of the screen, it'll tell you what kind of modifiers they have. And it'll tell you what element they do. This is a boss, so he has two elements, physical and cold. Every boss that I've seen has two elements, and they don't always matter. Like, it's not, if you looked at the zone menu and it said you needed fire res, the boss will most likely do fire damage, but he might also have chaos damage or poison damage or physical damage. So it's not always, if you're dying to a boss, even though you met the zone requirements of fire resistance, it might be because he's doing a second element that you don't have any resistance to, and that's why you're dying. This will also tell you what each of these modifiers do. These are unique modifiers. You won't really see any of these until later. These are Chaos Dungeon boss modifiers. You won't really see any of those. And these are your regular ones that you'll see on any like rare or magic monster. Another good thing is features. This is all the end game. If you want to just figure out what the end game is, or how to play the wave defense thing, it'll tell you how to do those. It'll tell you that what these are. These are important. You can lock them. It'll tell you all this stuff. And then it'll tell you if each of the orbs do. Like the damage orb amplifies damage. The dexterity amplifies all types of speed, including move speed. Projectile increases such and such. And it'll all tell you this stuff. The raids, it'll tell you all this stuff. Now, the raid doesn't go over the boss mechanics, but it'll tell you, it'll give you, a decent amount of information about all this stuff. I would go through these tabs. If you're ever trying to figure out something, maybe you just go through these tabs and you might find your answer instead of having to go ask on Reddit or something. Don't know if I mentioned it, but another really good thing about physical spells is the damage conversion. I know I mentioned that, but I didn't mention whenever you have, because you can, at the end, you can freely change, before you beat the last boss, you can freely change what skills you want to do. But with a physical spell, like this one, or a physical skill, you can freely change your element damage. So you convert to a different element and then just change. Maybe you don't want to do lightning damage anymore. Maybe you want to do poison, or maybe you want to do fire. You just swap around those links, and for the most part, whenever you're scaling, can you see it on here? No, but every skill has an element type. Normally, the element of this skill is physical. Physical only scales with percent increased physical damage, or any kind of thing that says physical damage. But if it's an element, you can scale it. See how it is it at? Oh, I'm clicking on the rune. You see now it says lightning element. All elements besides physical scale with increased elemental damage. If you look at my gear, say this ring, it has just elemental damage. So if you get stats that are just elemental damage, you can freely swap your skill to any damage type you want with these links, and then just change your other stuff. Instead of doing added lightning damage and convert lightning damage, maybe I wanted to do fire. So I'd swap this to fire and swap this to fire, and then now my skill is a fire spell with all the same scaling, as long as your Zodiac tree didn't pick up any, as long as you didn't pick up any fire specific, like I think. Where is it? Is it this one? Yeah, this is one tree where I usually end up scaling a specific element. But prior to here, it's all generic. Prior to this tree, it's pretty much all generic, and I could swap it freely as much as I want to any other damage type, which is very convenient and nice for testing stuff. Plus, I just like how I can change. Oh, I got a new one. Alright, whatever. Also, I didn't go over this tab. This tab is the beauty tab where you can buy the cosmetics. You can look at the cosmetics. Blah, blah, blah. And then you can change the color of any of your skills. You can use these little, like, default buttons, presets. You can do it manually. What have you. And it just costs gold. Do whatever you want. Any color that you can get to whatever. You can also change your faces. Change your face to whatever. Your skin color. Your gender. Well, no, maybe not your gender. Your gender cost. I guess they all cost real money. You have to pay money to do this one. You can buy portals, different portal effects. And then this is just your little medallion. You do have a coupon for a medallion. I think it's this one. No, it's this one. No, it's one of these. Pretty sure it's this one. You have the little redeem thing that you get eventually from somewhere. you'd have to come to this tab, and then you'd have to do what I did where it says obtain, but the medallion coupon has to be in your inventory. And then you can claim it. The grave robbers, they're called Peru, that you can encounter while going through any zone or whatever. If you're in the campaign, they don't show up in parties. You'd have to find them solo. And there's 3 different types. There's the one that drops gold bars, like different types of gold. They can drop gold ore, gold nuggets, pile of gold nuggets, bars, and then pile of gold bars, depending on what stage in the story you are. Then there's the one that drops the elements. They can drop any of the elements. And then there's one that drops the currency items. I also forgot to go over the stash. This is your storage. It's shared between characters. Each character has 100 slots of their own inventory. So this character has 100 slots. If I made a new character, that character has 100 slots, so on and so forth. You can have 3 characters unless you buy more slots. You get 1 storage tab of 50 and a second storage tab of 50 for free, shared between your characters. So each character can only... This is limited. Each new character can come and pull stuff in and out, put stuff in and out, whatever. And that's all you get. You get these 2 tabs. You can buy more tabs, cost real money. You can buy special tabs, which this is the only thing I've paid for, is this 1 tab. This is where you can put all your crafting material. It's also, even if you didn't pay for it, it's still a handy source of information. If you didn't buy this, you can still go and look at what all this stuff does. A handy way of like finding out things, like for specifically, I didn't know this was a thing, but it's a material that you can get late in the game that just changes any skill into a 6 link. Just instantly. There's also one that changes, there's a chance to make it a 6 link, but there's a higher chance to make it a 5 link. But you can go and look. If there's something you didn't, if you're trying to like think of, oh, I wish I could just remove this shitty roll on my item. Well, this, or you just got a bunch of the bad bottom modifiers, the suffixes. This re-rolls the bottom modifiers but leaves the top modifiers alone. If like you were trying to find something that does something specific, you can come and look at this stuff. This is your alchemy tab. This might be the second thing I buy. But you can just use these tabs. Obviously, some of them don't have anything. Like they're just for storage. But you can use these tabs to be like, oh, there's a mystical powder, or oh, there's whatever these things are. The alchemy tab isn't as useful as this one. If you do buy these ones, there's a quick storage. It only pops up when you're on this tab. It's not over here, which is annoying. You have to go to this tab and then you can instantly put all the stuff over here. Another annoying thing is this auto combine. It'll combine all, if you have 10 of these, it'll combine for one of these or whatever. But you have to click it on this tab, and then on this other tab, you'd have to click it on this tab too. Anything that says exclusive just means it'll use it first. Exclusive essences will be used before other essences when using essences. So when crafting, instead of using these, it'll use all these first, and then use these. The last thing I guess I'll go over is the auction house, which doesn't... You can't use it until Act 3 and level 30. So you have to get to Act 3, and you have to be level 30, and then you get to go talk to this guy. Auction house. This is how you get rubies. for free. You can buy rubies for money. And I know it says free diamonds, but you can't get free diamonds. It's just when you buy diamonds, once you buy a higher amount or whatever, you know, sometimes they give you, oh, you bought 500, here's 200 for free. That's what it means by free. There's no way to get them in game. Rubies for free, this is how you get them, the auction house. You have to sell things on the auction house. Some things are easy to sell, like alchemy ingredients. Supposedly you can sell these. What you would do to find pricing, say high quality empty bottles. You click on that and then you just hit search. And you just look for like what people are selling them. Seems like they're doing, this person is selling 8 for 10. So he's selling them at 1.2 per bottle. So maybe that's not worth selling or whatever. To go back, you hit search conditions, clear it. Maybe you want to sell something else. Crafted statues from the alchemy table, but you can't really make them until a little bit later on. Actually, you can't make them until end game. But they sell better, you know. You can do person selling 6 of them at 58 a piece, 60 a piece, you know. This is a these things sell pretty fast, pretty good, because people need gold for leveling up stuff. This is like one of the few things you can buy in the auction house that you can sell for gold. Few or only, I'm not sure, I don't remember. I haven't looked at every single thing in here. You just go to the different tabs. You want to look at a unique, like I really want this unique dagger, but say you just wanted to look at a unique dagger. You'd click dagger, you tab it as unique, make sure nothing else is ticked, and then they'll show you all the unique daggers. Which, if you want to look at something, if you want to do it faster, you can do it from here. You can look at all of them quite fast. Swords, you can look at all the swords, what they do, you click on them, tells you all the stuff they do. Tells you the level requirement down here. This is a scroll menu. You can scroll up and down to see all the things. This is armor. Scroll up and down. Oh. Below, you can scroll a little bit. Look at all the different armors. And this is accessory. There's just those 3. Also, I didn't mention on this, you can look and see what every skill does. What it looks like. Cool explosion. Really like, the skill's kind of cool, but I haven't got it to work very good. It's a attacking circle on the ground. Show you what all the skills do. If you're wondering, skill to take as a reward, or what skill you want to use, you can go and look at all these. That's just some kind of buff. But yeah, I believe that's all the tips I got for the early to mid game. Oh, no, there is one more. Your minimap. You can open it by clicking on this. You can open it by using the hotkey. But once it is open, you see how this changes? This would just close the minimap, this button. But this button below it lets you change the minimap settings. Make it more opaque, more transparent, more visual. Some maps are icy and snowy. So I would prefer to have, you know, like a lower transparency map as possible. But once you hit those white maps, it's impossible. You can't see the map anymore. But yeah, I believe that's all the tips I have for today. I can make a second video for the mid to end game if that's something y'all would want. But other than that, that's everything I have. Thank you.